Hello, it's your old pal Sam, not wearing the same thing in the other videos. I dare you to try to match the frames. I look totally different outfit, totally different setup. Joined by, as always, DJ, who's also wearing something
It's
different.
totally different, and it's not because we're wearing the same things multiple days, because time doesn't matter. It's not like we're a couple sweaty, smelly boys.
God's the only one who can judge me. Welcome to our reviews of Doom Patrol Season 2. We were able to check out the first 3 episodes, and this is our spoiler-free thoughts.
Yes.
Let's not dilly-dally, because I know you guys want to know, how does Season 2 so far stack up to Season 1? And if you are watching this on HBO Max or DC Universe, no worries. Just support the show any ways that you can, because this was a very special thing to come from DC Universe. Please try to support DC Universe if you can, but at the very least, give your views over. Watch this show. Tell your friends about it, because it is a real treat. It's kind of crazy that a show like this even exists.
Very true. And for those that don't know, the as Sam mentioned before, Doom Patrol is appearing on both the DC Universe app and HBO Max. The first 3 episodes are dropping on June 25th on both of those platforms, and this season will consist of 9 episodes. So the next 6 episodes will be coming out weekly after those first 3 drop. And so this will be a spoiler-free discussion of those first 3 episodes. You can probably expect a spoiler-filled discussion once they drop on HBO Max. But Sam, we were big fans of this. We discussed the show on Super TV Showdown with Roxy back in the day, and we were very big fans of it. What do you think of? What were your thoughts going out of season 1, and what are your thoughts of the first 3 episodes of season 2 so far?
I mean, season 1 ended with the rat and the cockroach making out on Danny the Street in a painting. So it's really wild that this show is able to do this. I know I said that before, but isn't it crazy? Mm-hmm. Like, a comic book's different. Like, you can pitch a contained comic and relatively not lose really that much money on it, as far as I can tell. I could be wrong about the business, but it's a safer bet to do a crazier off the walls comic book than doing a crazy off the walls streaming show or TV show, whatever you want to call it, whatever the proper name is. So I was just thoroughly impressed with how grounded the story could be while being off the walls. And I forgot that we ended with them all being tiny, except for Larry. Yes. Larry's the only one that's not tiny. I don't know why he is not tiny compared to the other ones. I know there was an explanation, but I still don't know if I bought it. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but it was funny as we watched the episodes. They each come with like a recap, except for the first episode. It's been like a year since I saw season 1. No recap. I literally just watched the previous episode, and there's a recap. It's like, well, come on. I could have used one for season 1.
Mm-hmm. You could please explain more of what's happening right now. But and I'm reminding myself that it's spoiler free because I don't want to get into it. But our first episode back is Fun Size Patrol, which I really enjoyed because they don't immediately fix the problem of them being tiny, so you get to live in that for a full episode. And also, they did a good job of hiding the face of Chief's daughter, Dorothy Spinner, and we knew that she was going to be a big part of the season. And she sure is. The season opens with a story that's centrally about her and what her whole deal is, and boy howdy, I'm already scared. I knew that she was a scary character, not so much in her personality, but in what she's capable of doing and being a little, and that the fact that she's a little girl, it makes it a little extra scary. Also, that she kind of looks like her face looks different. She's like related to a cave man, maybe, I don't know, but if you watch season 1, you know what we're talking about. So meeting her was, I think the actress they got to play her is very talented, and she's doing a very good job.
Abigail Shapiro,
she's doing a great job.
Yes.
I really like it. And then the first episode is kind of dealing with her power set, and also where all our characters are at, with the revelation of that why they are the way they are is kind of Chief's fault, and actually sometimes for some of them it's directly his fault.
Yes.
It is his doing, and we get to explore more why he is looking for eternal life, and you can see the darker side of Chief, which I think is really interesting, that they allow their main character, played by none other than Timothy Dalton, to be a villain, while also you are empathetic to him to some degree. You are empathetic, but at the same time, remember, he did choose to do this to them. Which is hard to remember, that he did do that. which is just awful. And he's also hid information from them. So the first episode back, I thought it set it up really well. We get some just hanging out with these characters again is really nice.
Yeah.
Is really fun. And since Larry is big and they are small, there's some aspects of how he takes care of them, which I thought was really sweet and funny.
Yeah.
And also, I just forgot how much I grew to love Crazy Jane over the first season. Like at first, she's a lot, and that's the point, is that she's supposed to be a lot. She's a lot to herself even. So exploring that character again is really interesting. And what the story threads that they left from season 1 going into season 2, I'm enjoying so far. And I'm just kind of giving my overall thoughts as we move through each episode. Actually, I'll throw to you.
Yes.
What did you think of the first episode back?
That I thought overall, since we're not doing spoilers, just my overall thoughts of the first 3 episodes. I came in with a high bar because I really liked Doom Patrol, and I really liked what they were doing, and I thought they did a really interesting job of taking these high concept, larger than life, off the wall stories and using them as vehicles to explore trauma. And I feel like these episodes, at least these first 3, the balance feels a little bit off to me, where they're kind of rehashing a lot of some of the same ground that we already covered in the first season, revisiting a lot of those threads without necessarily saying anything new about them. We get flashbacks about characters that basically reinform us about stuff that we already knew. And without Mr. Nobody, without there is an overarching threat, but it's not as clear to our characters yet. And so it just feels a little bit more scattered, a little bit less motivated, and a little bit less interested in the weird zany stuff. It seems to be living in for every 10 minutes of a big, crazy, kooky comic book character, there's 40 minutes of everybody walking around pouting. And it reminds me of a lot of the Marvel Netflix shows and other streaming shows where there just wasn't quite enough story to pad out the episode run times. And so there's a little bit of filler. So as cool as it is to see, there's some characters from classic Doom Patrol. There's some characters from Grant Morrison's run, which interestingly in a previous Stargirl review, you kind of mentioned Alex Ross not getting credit for images of the Justice Society representing that. It is weird watching the show while I've been reading Grant Morrison's run. And it's like he and his team of creators that worked on that iconic run that very much influenced the storylines of the show don't get any credit.
They don't?
No, because they didn't create Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol was created, I believe, in the 60s.
It was their X-Men.
Yeah,
they were supposed to be.
It was supposed to be. Obviously, it's a lot darker and weirder than the X-Men, but and those creators get credit. But since Grant Morrison's, he didn't create the team or whatever, they don't get any credit on the show. And so I hopefully there's something there. I will say, the omnibus of his full run is I got it off, you can get offline or whatever. But yeah, so very dedicated to that, and we get some of that. As cool as it is to see some of that stuff, I'm looking forward to maybe the show refinding some of that zany energy it used to have, kind of marrying that more with what it's trying to say about these characters. It makes me wonder if maybe they kind of said everything they had to say in season 1, and there's this whoa, what do we do with these people now? Where do they go now? And I'm hoping it's still a really cool show. I'm just kind of hoping it kind of recaptures some of that energy that season 1 had.
That's weird. I mean, I don't teach their own. I felt like season 1, when it came to the character moments besides Larry, Larry got some pretty decent closure, at least when it came to his lover, his partner. But we didn't really deal with the fallout of his family, and we don't really know how they dealt with the fact that he disappeared.
Yeah.
We don't know. And we barely even know what happened in that house between all of them. And in these first couple episodes, you do get some flashbacks between certain characters meeting for the first time and what it was like when it was just them. And I thought that was really interesting. We kind of are just dropped into it, and we don't really see how a place like this is even formed. And in these first couple episodes, we do get to explore it. I will say that a definitely strong benefit to season 1 is Mr. Nobody is our narrator. He is our window into this world. And in the opening scene of the season 1 is him becoming who he is. And you're like, wait, what does that mean? And as it goes on, you realize, oh, he is like a fourth wall breaking character that is our viewfinder for this reality. And so not having that in the first episode, there is a clear threat, like you said, but it isn't quite like Mr. Nobody, where it's like, what do you do with this? In this, it's like it's everyone's kind of out for themselves, and everyone is kind of a threat. Everybody, like, they're not like all going against each other, but they all have their own interests, which is fine, because it's been decades that they've been in this house and not dealt with anything. So they should be able to go out and deal with it. So for me, the interpersonal, the exploration of, like, we're dealing with Larry's story now, like he's kind of going out into the world and in a way trying to discover himself. Cyborg, that's a big part of his role, and trying to reevaluate him, because at the end of the last season, he did something bad, objectively bad, and also his dad lied to him. There's right now, all of his goals and everywhere he is in life, like, there is it is pouting, but also it's a really compelling story of, so far for me, of trauma, and also PTSD, of how he views himself and reality, and also like they even kind of tap into like him being a camera that's always on, and how that makes people feel. And it's like, you should feel uncomfortable a little bit around Cyborg's tech. It's scary. Like he doesn't even know what it's capable of. And also, Rita didn't get explored really in season 1. And in this, so far in this first season, the trailer sets up that she wants to be a hero. She wants, like, to give back, and also have full command over her own body. Like, literally, she wants to have that. And so far, like, I've been on board with it. Also, it seems like, not that the first season didn't have money, like they did some big stuff. This season, though, so far, what they're able to pull off with their budget, I've been thoroughly impressed by. But it does, I will say that since it doesn't have the clear direct line with Mr. Nobody, and also that, like, even when we had the D-Creator storyline in the first season with the giant eye in the sky.
Highlight for me.
Great. The entire thing with the dog and the baby and the kid and everything. Just, and super depressing. Mr. Nobody mentions it as like, this is just a filler story. Like, we need to get back to my own thing. But it was, so far, it kind of feels more like those D-Creator episodes, in the sense that it doesn't feel so much that we've dealt with the main problem of the show yet. It's just kind of felt like we're exploring kooky ideas, but without it drawing us back to the main threat. Even though it has been mentioned, it just doesn't feel connected so far for me.
And the characters don't kind of know what the threat is. And I think you touched on something there with everybody kind of dealing with their own thing. And maybe that's part of what's not quite clicking for me is, in these first 3 episodes, our characters spend a lot of time apart from each other. And specifically, Vic doesn't spend a lot of time with the characters, and it feels like a missed opportunity, because I think some of those were the highlights of the last season, is seeing the ensemble bounce off of each other and try and figure out how to solve impossible problems with abilities that aren't quite that useful. You know what I mean? Like, are more damaging to them than they are useful at solving problems.
Agreed. And also just like the way that Robotman and Cyborg played off of each other, and the way Rita and Cyborg played off of each other. Like, you kind of started in the season, like, Cyborg is the clear superhero of the group, and Rita talking to him, like, that's really interesting. But he does kind of go off and he does his own thing, and I don't think that's necessarily bad so far, because I do like that. In terms of the personal life of Cyborg in comics, his most recent, like, solo comics have tried their best to create original characters and original stories for him. But really, we only know about his dad, like, or his relationship to the Titans, or his relationship to the Justice League. I like the idea that this show actually takes the time to build out a personal life for him. Maybe it is just with the Doom Patrol, and that's how he ends up back with them. Maybe we do get to meet new characters and new supernatural threats. Like, that could be cool. But also, there's this kind of cool juxtaposition between the Doom Patrol's off the walls craziness with, like, a painting that you can get stuck inside of, or Danny. Right now, it's Danny the Brick. Because that was what we saw at the end of the last season. I
have a lot of emotional investment in that brick. I was surprised.
We have big plans for that brick. He can be anything. But that being said, I do like the juxtaposition of going back to Vic's story, because it feels very grounded. Feels very, very grounded, and I kind of like that balance so far. But that being said, like, I still think it's a solid start to an ongoing show, It doesn't feel like this is kind of meant to be a jumping on point for HBO Max viewers.
Yeah.
So they've got to watch 15 episodes to get caught up to this, 15 1-hour episodes, which I think are all very good. But if this was like their jumping on point, it might be like, oh, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be enough. But man, I would be interested to see how HBO Max viewers respond to a show like this, because DC Universe, at the very least, like there's not even, you don't even have to have the background. You don't have to have a background of Doom Patrol. You just know that this is the weird DC show, so you're able to watch it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how HBO Max's audience respond. And since this is spoiler free, we can't really get more into it. But the threat that they have set up so far, I feel like does a good job of answering questions from the first season. Because you do it like. We do know that like that the end of the first season is that Niles is the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's exploring immortality, and it's for his daughter.
Yeah.
That's what we know at the very least. And so I like that is kind of the crux of this season. But I'm interested to see on what that looks like moving forward, and hopefully it becomes like a clearer threat. But I will say, Tyme Patrol, the second episode, has my favorite DC character that pops up, because I read a story that he there's a character in that specifically was in 52 in a very small role, but
and he has a very specific design that you're like, that the only reason that exists is because it has to be that way in the comics. There's no way the designer was like, this is good, this works.
I just love the idea of what he is and what his world is, and it's not a world, but his corner of the DC universe is very specific. And with Pain Patrol, it's, hey, guess what? I felt hearing that many people scream that much in an episode made me uncomfortable. I'll tell you what. And there's a visual cue in that episode, in the third episode, that will make you uncomfortable, but it also is kind of beautiful but awful. Yeah. So that's as much as I can say without getting into spoilers. For me, I'm super sold, and it's the interpersonal stuff that made me really love these characters and made me want to like sell it to more people too, where it's like there is a lot here to love, because they take these off the wall characters but tell very grounded stories of being parents, or being just someone in love, or being someone who is in the LGBT community prior to the 2000s. Like what was it like in the 60s or the 50s? It's that exploration is super interesting, and so I hope we get more of that, but also I do hope that they ramp it up even more. Yeah, I think, and maybe Alan Tudyk comes back in some way. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back.
It was interesting having him on the sidelines here, and he was off of Harley Quinn for an early part of the season, and it's, when he's there, you kind of take him for granted, but it's like he adds a lot to the shows that he's on. You know what I mean? Like he adds a lot there, and I think he also served an interesting function in season 1 of kind of like taking the piss out of some of the more dramatic stuff. Like when things started to get too heavy, like he'd pop in with like a one-liner to kind of like help keep things moving. So I do recommend, I believe on HBO Max right now, the first season of Doom Patrol is available. So if you're interested in checking out, it's not that you need it to watch these episodes, but just do yourself a favor and go watch them, because they're very good. And it will help you set up some stuff here. And shout out, of course, to Timothy Dalton. The entire cast on this show is great, but like you mentioned, like we're seeing more Timothy Dalton this season, and he does great work. And we mentioned Abigail Shapiro as Dorothy Spinner, but like props to her to not only being great, but God, I hope she's not in the makeup chair for too long. I hope
she's got to talk through like fake teeth and a lot of prosthetics on her face, and she's doing a very good job.
She's doing better than most adults in similar situations. Like she's doing really good and really making you care about this person. So even though for me right now it's not quite clicking the same way season 1 is, I'd still give it an 8 out of 10. And I know for like when we do other reviews, like for Stargirl, like 8's a good, like, Stargirl's on point. It's just comparing it to the way the first season made me feel. This show has brought bigger highs for me, and the groundwork that it is laying does lead me hopeful for the next 6 episodes for where we'll go from there. So check it out, especially more people than ever can now watch it with HBO Max. So check it out, give it some love. And there's some hints that some of the things Sam, you talked about, bigger budget this season, some of the things that like seemed like budgetary limitations in previous seasons, there's some hints that some of that stuff might progress or evolve or change. And I'm excited to see what that looks like within the context of this show. And I'm hopeful that we get many, many more seasons of this show. Sam, what would you rate these first 3 episodes?
I gotta give it an A. Like, I give it a 9 out of 10. Like, I really the emotional stakes. I mean, like, I think when we were talking about The Good Place a couple months ago, and we talked about Onward, whenever like I admitted that like basically if any movie or TV show deals with the afterlife in some way, in a positive way, of someone coping with it, you're gonna make me cry. And I've realized if you deal with like someone in the LGBT community coming to terms with their sexuality and like and people accepting them for that for the first time, you're gonna make me cry. And that happened a lot in the first season with Larry, and like I bawled like a baby. And so they're not dealing with that so much in this season, but they are kind of skirting that a little bit, like vaguely. And so revisiting that's gonna make me cry. And the visuals in the show are impressive, and I do like the evolution of the characters so far. I hope they kind of start coming back together, and I think they will.
Yes.
You know, it's the Doom Patrol. It's a team, everyone's favorite superhero team. But I also hope more people watch it because it's just amazing. It's a truly special show, and seeing that Brendan Fraser and Matt Bomer, there's so many names, there's so many good actors on this, and JOIVAN WADE, gotta say, first time ever seeing him in anything, his Cyborg, not that Ray Fisher did a bad job in the Justice League movie, but this Cyborg has got layers, man. It's like an ogre. He's got like an onion, you know, he's got a lot of layers. And so if you've ever been on the fence with Cyborg as a character, just watch this show, man. The way they explore it is really interesting. It was such a smart choice. If they're going to pick one of the A-list, I'd say it's A-list superhero and putting him on the team, he's one of the best choices for just how complex his character is.
Agreed.
And so please check out season 2. We will be doing some form of a spoiler review on this channel, and make sure you check that out. But also check out patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Check out all of our reviews for Stargirl, Harley Quinn, season 1 of Doom Patrol, and we got Titans, Swamp Thing. We talked about all the DC Universe shows, boys and girls. Don't miss them out. And let us know your thoughts on this season, either if you're watching on HBO Max or DC Universe, on Twitter. I'm at Sam Bashor.
I'm at DJ Talks Trash.
And at Only Stupid Answers.
Yeah, got the bells from Stupid.
Go check them out. Please support the show if you can. And once you guys watch it, let us know your thoughts on this series in the comments down below, and we'll read those reviews on the show. But until then, stay safe. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.